Why don't we take a look at just some of the most essential flavorings and seasonings in Sichuan cooking that we have laid out right here before we jump into the recipes.
One of the amazing things about Sichuanese cooking is that you have this dazzling variety of flavors, and really you have a quite concise library of seasonings. So you have the basics, which it shares with other Chinese cuisines. So vinegar, soy sauce, sesame oil, sesame paste, ginger, garlic and scallions. But then you have these particular Sichuanese seasonings, which we've got some of them before us. So the first, of course, obvious chilies. So here we have some dried chilies. There are lots of different kinds, but in general, the Sichuanese favour dried chilies that are not overpoweringly hot, but have a lovely aromatic quality. So you can use them in frightening quantities without blowing your head off. You can use lots of different variety of chilies, but don't go for those deadly hot little dried Indian or Thai bird's eye type chilies, because if you use them in Sichuanese quantities, it will be a bit aggressive. When you have dried chilies, you can toast them very gently, usually with a tiny bit of oil, until they're what the famous chef Yu Bo described as cockroach colour. They pound them with a big stone mortar until you get kind of fairly coarse chili flakes. And these can be used as a dip or as the basis of Sichuanese hongyo, red oil or chili oil. If you want a shortcut, and I have to admit this is how I usually do it in London, you can get these coarse ground Korean chilies, which have a really good colour and they're not too hot. So these are good for making Sichuanese chili oil. Here is some chili oil that I made, and you can see hongyo. Really red oil.
The oil is stained that beautiful color.
But aside from dried chilies, fresh chilies are very fashionable now. These quite hot ones, xiaomila, the last few years, which are much hotter, so little red and green chilies. And they also have pickled chilies, which are sadly almost impossible to find outside Sichuan. And they have a long local kind of chili called the Arjingpiao. And they're pickled in brine, lacto-fermented. And they are bright scarlet, and they have a very nice fruity quality. And again, they're not too hot. And these are the chilies used in that other famous Sichuanese seasoning, which is doubanjiang, which is chili bean paste. So we have 3 different kinds here. So this is some that I've brought from Sichuan myself, which is a very well-known local brand, Juancheng doubanjiang. And this is a Hong Kong brand, Li Kam Ki, which is the hongyo doubanjiang. So that's a red oil chili bean sauce. You can see there's a layer of oil, and it's darker. And this one is kind of less traditional because it's already been mixed with oil. And this is another Sichuanese hongyo, the red oil one. If you're looking out for the Sichuan chili bean paste, it is made with broad beans, fava beans, not soybeans. So it's fava beans with the Arjingpiao chili. So when the paste is fresh, when they start fermenting it, it's quite a light red from those bright fresh chilies. And then gradually it darkens till you get this sort of mahogany colour. And the great thing about this paste is that it's never used raw, by the way. So you start by sizzling it gently in oil, not too hot, because you want to coax out this wonderful red colour, savoury, spicy flavours. And that's really part of the heart and soul of Sichuanese cooking, and that's key to all kinds of famous traditional dishes like mapo tofu, that great dish, and twice cooked pork. They all rely on this. And the other great spice, of course, is Sichuan pepper, huajiao in Chinese, flower pepper.
How do you say it?
Huajiao.
Huajiao.
Yes. So this is one of the most ancient Chinese spices. And this was used in China, hundreds of years, thousands of years before the chili. Sichuan pepper is used to an extent in spice mixtures all over China and by other Chinese cuisines. But in Sichuan, what they want is that tingly, nummy sensation.
And it's got that numbing. It's not quite spicy.
There's a special word for that sensation in Chinese, and it's ma, which means it's the same word as pins and needles and anesthesia.
What are the hallmarks of a good Sichuan peppercorn?
When you open the package, an absolutely glorious scent, a bit citrusy, and something that smells fresh and lively and delicious. This is some that I brought back from Sichuan.
It is like citrusy and floral.
Yeah, and it shouldn't smell sort of stale and woody. It should have that
also
lively
piney,
aroma.
Almost like a piney quality.
And the other thing is that's totally unmistakable, is that if you put one of these in your mouth and you chew it juicily about 2 or 3 times and then take it out. And wait a few seconds.
It's already starting. Yeah. There it comes.
Yeah. So in a lot of dishes you use it whole. So you just sizzle it gently in oil. Again, not too hot. You don't want to burn it. You want to bring out that aroma and flavour the oil. So sometimes it's used whole. It can also be dry roasted in a wok or a skillet.
Right.
Very gentle heat, and as you toast it, this amazing aroma should fill your kitchen. I mean, it's utterly lovely.
Yeah.
And when it's toasty, then you can grind it, and you can do it in a pestle and mortar, but much quicker in a spice grinder, and the finer the better. And then you get this lovely powder, and it's used sometimes as a dip for deep fried things or spiced meats, cold meats. You can also sprinkle it on top of some dishes, like mapo tofu is traditionally finished by a really good sprinkling. And it's quite hilarious actually, because if I'm cooking it for Western people, I will always give a good hit of the tingliness. But when I've cooked it for Sichuan people in Sichuan, they make me put like 4 times the amount of Sichuan pepper on top, and they really want it.
They want the full blast. And I have to, so just from chewing on this one 3 times several minutes ago, it's still right. Like I still feel it. Just to
that's good
update.
Sichuan pepper.
Yeah.
But if you get them in your mouth, they are a bit sort of hard, and so some people prefer to use the ground roasted or this Sichuan pepper oil as well.
Right.
So then you have all the aroma, but you don't have that sort of grittiness of the whole pepper.
And this is just like probably some kind of a vegetable oil that's been infused with Sichuan peppercorn flavor?
Yes.
And so you would kind of drizzle it in, or?
Yeah, well you can use that particularly in cold dishes. It's very nice, cold salady dishes if you want a bit of zing. I do find that it doesn't last very well, so I would recommend buying small bottles and sort of
This is
keeping them in a
quite
cool
big, isn't
place.
it?
It is quite, yeah.
Should we start cooking?
Let's not cook it.
I mean, I think you're going to show me how to do it.